My name is Professor Josie Martinez, and I am delighted to be with you to hopefully give you some tips on how to successfully go about finding the research for your assignment in Intro to Fiction, the comparison contrast analysis of two stories. I uh, y- I have a lot of information to offer you today. You won't remember the vast majority of it, but I do want you to come away with this. Uh, we in the library are available for you. You are our top priority when you call us, email us, come by and see it to see us, and we are going to set aside everything else to help you in finding just the right resources, not just resources that are okay, but we're hopefully going to find those very best resources so that your paper is the very best paper you can produce. All right, let's begin by going to the library's homepage. I have a lip guide, which is just a fancy way of saying a handout that we keep online in order for you to use. We do these lib guides for a variety of classes that have to do with information literacy and tips on how to go about finding research for a particular assignment. So let's go to the library's homepage, which is library.alusa.edu. Down the middle here, under Search Guides and Tutorials, you'll find Course and Subject Guides. Here we have English, and we pull up 2335, Intro to English, Intro to Fiction. Okay, to let's look at our objectives. By the end of this session, hopefully 15 minutes, that's all I've got with this software, you will be able to locate and evaluate about at least 3 articles from the literature and language databases over the subject that you have chosen. Secondly, we want you to be able to successfully search the databases, WorldCat, Catalog, and Google Scholar to retrieve some resources for your essay. And then we'll talk a little bit about MLA citation, and I've got EasyBib that I want to introduce you to if you don't already know about the wonderful software that we have that will help you with your MLA citations. I'm going to use an example. I'm going to compare and contrast the story, The Metamorphosis by Kafka, and The Death of Ivan Ilyich, that's Tolstoy's story, and I'm going to see if I can find the theme of father-son relationships. So I may want to get a little bit more specific with that. That's pretty specific. And so let's approach our searches using those two examples. What I would first want to introduce you to are the databases. We have quite a few of them that will be helpful to you, and I want to introduce them to you. We'll go here in order. Here's the Gale. The Chicano database is a wonderful one if you are dealing with Latino authors. So it's not an extensive database, but it's definitely one that you may want to check out. But it is very much limited to just Chicano Latino authors. Here's Gale. Let's have a look at what we have here. This is what we call the interface being the page where you interact with the database. All of them are different. Gale is very unique. You see that it has just a few boxes here, but it will bring back information about the author. There will be literary criticisms, and there's also going to be biographical information. And you're going to learn how important that is because so often authors write from their experiences. And so you're going to see with the two examples I've chosen that they write about both Tolstoy and Kafka write from what they know. They had some very difficult relationships with their own fathers, and so those themes come out in their writing. And we wouldn't know that. We wouldn't have that insight if we didn't look at a lot of biographical material. And so luckily the databases will be providing that to us. So I put here Kafka, title of the work, The Metamorphosis. I don't have to put the birth year or the death year or any of this other stuff. That in itself should bring up some results. So I see that I've got one one hit. Now, the thing is with the Gale literary databases, this one hit is inclusive of a lot of information. You'll see that it starts off with biographical information. It's a full listing of all of the writings by that author, so that if you wanted to go and look at other things uh, that might provide more insight as to what you find in the father-son relationships and metamorphosis, you know that these are all writings by this author. They break it up by genre. And then it goes on to talk about other things. There was a film made of the metamorphosis. There have been plays written about the there has been a play about the metamorphosis. And when you're going through your information, you're going to find reviews of that play. Is that good or not? Yes, I think it really is, because it gives you insights from the perspective of this play that was produced, and it stays very close to the writing of Kafka's the metamorphosis. So you might be able to glean some very good information from that. Here we go. It goes on to give more biographical information, very detailed information. Uh, and then after the biographical information is and really inclusive within it, it talks about some of the works. Now, this is one of the frustrations that students find with Gale, where some of the other databases we're going to see um, give you uh, different pieces of information, different articles, different critiques. Gale, as I said, gives you one big report on it. So you have to kind of go in there. You see that the metamorphosis is mentioned here, so there might be some information about that. Talks about fathers and sons because, as I said, because he had quite Kafka had quite a bit of conflict with his father. He has this recurring theme of father-son conflict in not only Metamorphosis, but some of his other works. So it talks a little bit about that as in there as well. It goes, you just have to kind of read this, well, not kind of, you got to really get into it. Scanning's not going to do it once you're starting to with your critique. You're going to need to get in there and look at it very carefully and read what they have to say about the metamorphosis. So it's quite a long one. There's going to be a lot of information in there. Some of it deals directly about the metamorphosis, some of it is other works. But all in all, I think you're going to come away with a good idea of why Kafka wrote about father and son relationships, and how he came to the conclusions that he did in his works. Okay, so that is Gale. See, it's really not too complicated to use, um, and results varied, can be varied. This is definitely one of those databases that you're going to want to work closely with the librarian. Here's JSTOR. JSTOR is just packed full of information. Very specific. It's a database that is has a lot of literary criticisms, but it also can be quite difficult to use. You can see that I've run these before, and so it's going to keep a record of some of my past inquiries. If you noticed, um, because I've done this a couple of times, it's gone in and it's included some parentheses. That is one of the tricks that we learn as a researcher. In order to keep the metamorphosis together, we put it into parentheses so that during the search, the database goes out and searches that as one unit, rather than going to look for the and then what metamorphosis. The same thing with father-son relationship. It goes out and looks for this term as a whole. So it's a really neat idea to put some terms into parentheses just like that. The extra parentheses, that's really advanced Boolean searching, something that we'll go into in later lessons as we become more and more sophisticated with our search terms. So you're going to see that I get a lot of hits, many of them coming from very literary magazines and journals. The German Quarterly, there's a lot of them coming from the German Quarterly. This one, uh, the British Medical Journal actually delves into the whole psyche of this father-son relationship as portrayed in the Metamorphosis. So you're going to find just many, many, many articles. All of them will have some themes of father-son relationships, but again, it's going to take quite a while to delve into each of them and to analyze them and to search through them. If we have it in full text, uh, it will tell you, JSTOR always, before it proceeds to the article, will have you sign off on um, the fact that you're going to use this information ethically. You're going to give a citation as to where that information came from. JSTOR is very committed to uh, proper citation, uh, intellectual property, that type of thing. So this one's we'd have to sit here and read through it to see if indeed I'm going to find pieces of information that will reinforce my theme. It talks a lot about metamorphosis, talks about a lot of other things as well. So, rule of thumb, to find one source, you have to go through three, four, five different sources before you find just that one perfect one. So if you're needing three or four or five sources, you see that you're going to have to go through a lot of material. And that's very important, the whole time management thing. This is not something that if it's due next week, you can start your research today. You can see that it's going to be very extensive. It's going to be very time consuming. So you must start early. Um, Also, not all articles are going to be immediately available to you in full text. There could be a possibility that we don't have an article that you need, in which case we would be able to obtain the article for you through the what we call Get It For Me. We'll talk about that in just a minute. You can see that most of these though are available in full text. It will tell you, it'll give you an indication that this is only a summary or this is only an abstract and that the full text article is not available. But JSTOR's pretty good about providing mostly full text articles for you. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We call it LRC, Library Reference Center, Literary Reference Center. And you see that this is an EBSCO product. The next few databases that we use are all going to be EBSCO products. And all that means is that the interface or the way that you interact with the database is going to be very similar in each of the EBSCO databases. You're going to have essentially three boxes here. You're going to have publication names, and it's going to be laid out very similarly like this. So let's run Franz Kafka, the Metamorphosis, father-son relation. And let's search that. Okay, didn't like that. All right. Relationship it didn't like. See, sometimes you have to play around with it. That can be some of the frustration of it. It did give me back a couple of things here. A lot of the databases share information, so it would not be unusual to see an article pop up in several different databases. You can see here that we do have full text available on that one, that one, that one. This one, probably not. We don't have a PDF full text link there. But let me show you this one because I also want to show you how the citation works. The citation tool. Oh, it looks like. Okay. Let's say that I found a wonderful quote or I'm paraphrasing something from this particular article and I want to cite it. EBSCO has the possibility, and I know that I cut this off, but there is uh, an icon here that's of a sheet of paper, and if you hover over it, it says cite. If you hit that, it brings up the citations for some of the most used citation formats, including MLA. So there's this is a good way to start. Now, of course, we always caution you that there may have been mistakes made while these were being put together. Uh, EBSCO themselves will say, hey, you need to double check